Warning: the following video will contain spoilers. If you wish to avoid spoilers, please exit this video now. Otherwise, please enjoy the video. Thank you. Hey, how's it going, everybody? David here. Welcome back to another episode of the Recap Show, and today I'm going to be reviewing Captain America: Civil War. So just in case you guys missed it in the beginning, I'm going to go ahead and play that spoiler warning for you guys. Warning: the following video will contain spoilers. If you wish to avoid spoilers, please exit this video now. Otherwise, please enjoy the video. Thank you. Alright, now let's get into this. So, my overall impressions of the movie are, it was really fucking good. Like, it was just, everything about this movie is amazing. From the action to the drama to the cinematography, the story structure, everything just meshes together so well. It's just an amazing movie to watch. It doesn't matter whether you like superhero movies or if you like drama or if you like action or if you like you can, there's even a little bit of romance in the film. Like you can pick and choose whatever you'd like, and there's something there for everybody. So, I get tons of people telling me, oh, I'm not into superhero films. Well, you're gonna love this movie no matter what. So, you might as well check it out. So yeah, it's definitely it's a hell of a film. I mean, I have no idea how to put it any more eloquently than that. It's just a damn good movie. You guys need to go see it. Now let's see what I can break down really quick. It starts off, with a conflict with Crossbones, and that whole thing's going down. So the first thing that we see, well, actually not the first thing. The first thing that we see is we see kind of like this. They show us 1991, and there's this weird stuff going down with Hydra, and they're Russians or something like that. And then we begin the movie. So there's like this whole subplot throughout with something happened in Siberia that the Winter Soldier had an assassination or something like that, and that becomes very key in the film. So the movie proceeds, and the people are starting to get afraid. The United Nations, all of these different countries are coming together, and they're like, hold on, it's great that these guys want to help, that these super people want to help, but, they're running around, no authority, and they leave destruction in their wake, and we have to rein these guys in. And so you get a lot of different perspectives coming into this, and at the very, not the very beginning, at the beginning of the film, Tony Stark, he's giving this speech, and he's telling all these kids at MIT, I believe it was MIT. Anyway, so he's telling everybody, oh, you guys, I developed this thing cost me like $1 million to make, and it was this weird projection that it could read your mind, and it would project your memories and all that. And he was showing a scene where like his parents, the last time he saw his parents, and so he was using that as a selling point, and he told all the students that you guys all just got a grant, whatever it is that you want to make, you think you can change the world or whatever, you just got like, I don't think they ever specified an amount, we'll just say like $5,000, you guys have $5,000, go do whatever you want with it. So it's Tony Stark trying to give back and all that, and then he meets a woman as he's leaving. He meets a woman who tells him, oh, you know what, it's good that you did for those kids. And he's like, what are you going to do for my son? And, she's like, he's dead. You killed him in Sokovia. I blame you. And you can see where exactly Tony Stark is coming from in all this. So then next thing that we get is they meet up, the Avengers meet up, and they're like, we need to be put in check because we can't be running around the way we're running around. And Captain America's like, you know what, it's just another organization, it's no different than S.H.I.E.L.D., it's no different than the World Security Council, it's no different from Hydra. Right now it might be all well and good, but, these people, their agendas will change, and then they're going to make us do things for them. And he's like, what if we need to go somewhere and they don't let us? Or what if we don't want to go somewhere and they try and send us? We cannot, he says, he puts it very well by saying the safest hands are still our own. And, which is true to a degree, because these are super people and they can't just be thrown about at all over the world just to satisfy some guy's greed or whatever. Anyway, so this is where we first start seeing the split, because everybody's like, well, no, we're not gonna do this. And then like Vision's like, oversight is not a bad idea, because he was running, he's like part machine, he can run all this stuff really quick. And so So yeah, so you can see a very a divide in the team, and like Captain America's people are like, you know what, we should keep doing what we're doing. You know, we're still, you know, there. We're not going to become anybody's lackeys. And then Iron Man's like, you know, we need to do this now. We need to accept the fact that we're going to be limited now before they do it to us later. But they'll imprison us, or they're going to force us to work against our will. And then, you know, then we have a brief funeral scene. What is her name? Peggy. Peggy died. They did. She died quietly in her sleep and all that. So that's good. So they finally got rid of her. I guess we're not. We might not see her moving forward unless it's a flashback or something. I hope they don't cancel the Agent Carter show because that show was pretty good. Anyway, I'm digressing. So yeah. So they're at the funeral, and Agent 13, Sharon Carter, Captain America's love interest. She starts quoting Peggy Carter, and he starts realizing, yeah, I'm not gonna sign the Accords, the Sokovia Accords. So that's where things break down because half the team, Black Widow, Iron Man, War Machine, all these guys, they sign the Accords, and they're gonna go to the UN to sign them. I think they were in a Switzerland, I believe. Anyway, no, not Switzerland. Forget it, it's not important. There were a lot of locations in this film. Like there were a lot of locations. Like every 10, 15, 20 minutes, I think we were in a new place. Anyway, so then it gets bombed, and they say it was the Winter Soldier, Bucky. James Buchanan Barnes, also known as the Winter Soldier, was the bomber. And then they go to some other country in the middle of nowhere, kind of like Sokovia, and that's where they find Bucky, and he's like, yeah, that wasn't me. I don't do that anymore. And that's where we see that big fight, and that's where we first see Black Panther. Black Panther in the suit, because we met him before out of uniform. He was the king's son, T'Chaka's son, and he was there as a representative for the people, and you know all that stuff's going on. He kind of had a bonding moment with Black Widow, where they were discussing like politics and stuff like that, and he says, I'm not a politician and all that. And his dad dies in the bombing. That's his motivation. Like literally, Black Widow's talking to him, and she's like, "Don't worry, we're gonna bring him in." And he's like, "You guys don't have to worry. I'm gonna kill him myself." Like this is the crown prince, king already of the Wakandan people, and he's like, "Don't worry about it. I'm gonna kill this motherfucker. Just chill." Like it was such a surreal scene, and it was really good. Chadwick Boseman, you are you are Black Panther, man. Like for real, you're Black Panther. That's it. You know. Anyway, so yeah, so then Bucky's getting chased by this international United Nations SWAT team or whatever, and they're trying to chase him down. I have no idea how they found him. You know, like supposedly he evaded detection for like years. So how the fuck did they find him? Anyway, so they track him down, and there's this big fight. We see Black Panther. They get captured, and they're like, "All right, Captain America, guess what? You just broke the law. You're a criminal, so we have to bring you in." So they take him in. They take Bucky, Cap, Sam, and T'Challa, and they take him in. And it was a funny scene because like they're in the car, and Sam is like, "So you like cats?" Like, it was just a funny scene that like everybody in the theater, because it was a dramatic moment. Like we were like, "Oh shit, they're gonna be brought in and you know what's gonna happen," and then all of a sudden just a joke out of nowhere, and everybody in the theater laughed. It was such a funny moment, and that's when T'Challa starts explaining the Black Panther, and he's saying, "Oh, it's the title of my people. The strongest warrior is always crowned the Black Panther," and blah blah blah. And then he's like, "Oh, let me ask you something, Captain America. How long do you think you're gonna keep me from killing your friend?" And it was like you can see these guys like they're just totally butting heads. They're just against each other. Then, we see them and they're being reprimanded. All of this stuff. And things get worse because this is where Zemo comes in. It's not Baron Zemo. I think his name was, what was his name? Helmut Zemo. And yeah, so he comes in and he manipulates the Winter Soldier because they brainwashed him, and there's still like key phrases that they could use to awaken the Winter Soldier or whatever. It was a series of words. I don't remember. One of them was homecoming, that sort of thing. I didn't really pay attention. I didn't think that the words themselves were, I didn't think that I was going to need to memorize them. But anyway, so yeah, so he recites this series of code words to Bucky, and Bucky's just like, "What are your orders?" in Russian. Yeah, that was a cool thing how they switched back to Russian, for the Winter Soldier. Anyway, so he starts telling them what happened in 1991. That was the big question, because remember, this is a subplot that's going on with Zemo, where he's focusing entirely on this particular date, and he's like, what happened that day? And he gets his information because the next scene is like he's escaping. I guess he told Bucky, okay, you can leave, do whatever you want, escape, whatever. And that's when we see that big chase scene between Bucky and Captain America, where he grabs the helicopter and he like brings it in. It was such that scene was so awesome. It was so badass, but at the same time, you're like, oh, come on, man. Like, even if Captain America's strong enough to like pull that helicopter back in, there's no way that he weighs enough to jump on it and then bring it down. How the fuck did he do that? Like, it was such a weird scene, such a badass scene. So anyway, so he rescues Bucky. He pulls him out of the water, and he's like, "Okay, which Bucky am I talking to?" That's when they have him in that vice where he's being held by that machinery, and he's like, which Bucky am I talking to? And that's when he's like, "Oh, your mom's name was Sarah," and he starts telling him, he's like, "Okay, so you're the real Bucky. You're the good Bucky," and so then they decide to bring the team together. They break out Wanda because Wanda was being held captive, and pretty much held captive. Yeah, it supposedly was because people were afraid of her and they wanted to make sure that the heat died down before she was out and about and all that. And then she ends up getting broken out by Jeremy Renner, Hawkeye. And there was this scene where she just like completely overpowers what's his name, Vision. She like smashes him down like 3 floors and then into the ground. Although there's probably like several floors underground too. So I don't know. It was like 10 floors underground, and he was completely buried, and they took off. So then they're like, okay, we're gonna need some help, and then that's when Captain America gets Ant-Man, and then what's his name? Tony goes off to Queens, New York, and that's when we first get introduced to Spider-Man. And I have to say this, I think the introduction for Spider-Man for the MCU was absolutely perfect. The way they handled it was absolutely like there was no origin story. Like he didn't even mention Uncle Ben, I think. If he did, it was very brief and I missed it. I hope that's not the case, but like he goes in and he tells him, "Okay, this is you." And he's showing him YouTube clips and he's like, "Check out this fucking YouTube video." And he's all that's fake, it's not me, blah blah blah. And he kind of like pulls a lever or something. I think it was to the attic, and that's where the costume comes down from. And he's like, I don't know what your deal is, kid, but like, look at this webbing. And he's like, I made that. And he's like, yeah, I know. The tensile strength is off the charts. You're a genius. All of this stuff. And he's like, I want you to help me out. And then he's like, but don't worry, I'm going to give you an upgrade. He kind of briefly explains because he wore these thick ass goggles, and he's like, yeah, I'm getting a ton of information, sensory input, and it's kind of like, it overwhelms me, so they help me focus. And he's like, don't worry, we're going to fix all that. And he's like, so why are you doing what you're doing? And he tells them basically, they didn't say, with great power comes great responsibility. I think they should have, because that's the original line from the original Spider-Man comic book. But they kind of did what they did in The Amazing Spider-Man, where he was, like I said, they didn't mention Uncle Ben, although I think the way he told the story was kind of heartbreaking, which suggests that, yeah, there's tragedy there, which is Uncle Ben. But what he said was, if you can stop bad things from happening, but you don't stop them, they happen because of you. I think that's verbatim what Tom Holland, Peter Parker said. He said basically, if you can stop something but you don't, you're just as responsible as whatever it was that happened. So yeah, that's all he says. And the way that they present it is that this kid's got a lot of guilt a little bit, and he's definitely he's doing what he can. And they kept his nerdiness. Like he's like, man, I got homework to do. I can't be going across the world for you. And like they kind of kept him kind of awkward, and it was the Spider-Man that we've always wanted to see. Because like Peter Parker in the first 2 films, Andrew Garfield played it like cool, and what's his name? Tobey Maguire. Tobey Maguire, I think, was a good. He wasn't a very good. He wasn't that good of Peter Parker. Peter Parker was always kind of weird in those original films. I think he played a decent Spider-Man, but I don't think he was a great Peter Parker. And this time we get the nerdy kid that everybody relates to, the everyman, and Tom Holland plays it perfectly. And then that's when we get to the whole airport fight scene, after that. That's when they meet up because they're trying to figure out what's going on, because they figure out that Baron Zemo's after more Winter Soldiers, because there's more than one apparently. Like they were experimenting with the super soldier serum and all that. and it completely roid raged these people out, and they were going to use them for to basically take countries because they were the best of the best of the best. Like they were best fighters, hand to hand combat, espionage, all of that. Bucky even says, even before the super soldier serum, these guys could probably take over a country in a single night. Nobody would ever see them coming. And it's like with the super soldier serum, because these guys are super, like me and like you, Cap. That since they're much more enhanced, they're even more dangerous. We have to stop them. So the airport fight scene is basically, we need to stop this guy, and he's like, we need to regroup, you need to come in, and we need to evaluate this with the committee or whatever. And Captain America's like, there's no time for a committee. So that's why they fight at the airport. And that airport fight scene was absolutely amazing. Like, everybody's doing everything right. The Russo brothers definitely know how to handle an action scene and multiple heroes. Oh my god, that scene was absolutely amazing. Like, it's probably one of the best action scenes that I've seen in film, period, regardless of genre. That includes like martial arts films and all of that. Like, it's not just best superhero action scene, it's the best fucking action scene ever. Anyway, so the show stealer would be, well, there were two show stealers because this is like a 15-minute fight, so there was like a lot of moments. First one would definitely be Spider-Man. Again, Tom Holland, you completely stole the show. You are the perfect Spider-Man. You played the perfect Peter Parker, and Spider-Man, you absolutely nailed. The first, like, he and Falcon get into it, and the whole time he's screaming, "You have the right to remain silent." Like, he's this kid, and he's just cracking jokes, and they even told him, like, Sam Wilson later, he told him, "I don't know if you've ever been in a fight before, but there's not this much talking," and he's like, "Oh, sorry," and like, it's kind of like, this is absolutely the best Spider-Man on film that we've ever had. Much respect to Tobey. Much respect to Andrew Garfield. I think you guys did amazing jobs as your Spider-Man and Peter Parker. Well, not really Peter Parker for Tobey. I think you were kind of weird in that role. I'm digressing way too much. But you guys definitely did the roles justice, but I'm sorry. Tom Holland just took the ball and ran with it. He's just leaps and bounds ahead of you guys. What else? Ant-Man. Paul Rudd is one of the most charismatic actors out there. He reminds me a lot of The Rock. When The Rock comes out in a movie, you just can't help but pay attention to him. Paul Rudd just has this likable aura, this likable charisma about him that, you just watch him and you can't help but laugh. He's entertaining. He's absolutely perfect as Ant-Man. And there was a scene, I think everybody knows about it by now, but he basically goes from Ant-Man to Giant Man. Because they needed a distraction, because they realized, we're not going to win the fight. Cap and Bucky, you guys need to finish this mission. We're going to go down for you guys, basically. And Ant-Man's like, wait, you guys need a distraction? I have an idea. And he's like, I'm going to try something. He's like, what are you going to do? And he's like, oh, I've done it only once in a lab, and I passed out. So wish me luck. And then they're like, what's going on? And he turns on, like, he goes in his machine. His suit changed, by the way. It's different than the one in Ant-Man. It was definitely upgraded, probably between him and Hank Pym. Anyway, so he goes, and he goes absolutely giant. He's basically like 50 feet tall, and it was the most hilarious scene, because then Tony's like, okay, does anybody on my team have this super secret ability that we need to use like right about now? And it was just the most the scene did not take itself too seriously. Like, it knew what it was. And like, you see they close up on Scott's face, on Ant-Man's face, and you can see, like, through the lenses, his eyes, and Paul Rudd's like, dude, like, what the fuck? And it was just the most entertaining scene probably in the whole film. Just him freaking out about being like over 50 feet tall or whatever. That scene was just, it stole, I think, the movie. Like, that was just the best scene ever. And then, you get Spider-Man. He's like, you guys ever seen that old movie? I think it's called Empire Strikes Back. And then everybody's like, how old is this kid, Tony? What is this kid? Like, he's like, that movie's not that old, but, it is. And, so this is just so, Spider-Man definitely represents the newcomers, the new heroes. Because there's a scene between him and Captain America, and he's like, kid, why are you doing this? And he's like, oh, Tony asked me to help. And he's like, do you know what's going on? And he's like, yeah, he thinks that you think you're wrong, but you think you're right, and it makes you dangerous. And then what's his name? Cap just he destroys like a what do you call it? I don't want to say a trailer. I don't think it was a trailer. Damn, man, it started raining again. Give me a sec. It was he basically dropped something heavy on him. I think it was a bridge, like a thing, a walkway or something like that that people used to get on the planes. And Spider-Man catches it and he's like holding it up and he's like losing his grip and all of that. And he's like, "Where you from, kid?" And he's like, "Queens." And he's like, "I'm from Brooklyn. See you around." And like, there's kind of like this weird bonding moment between them. And I thought that was pretty funny. And anyway, so whoa. This thing kind of went weird on me. Okay. All right. Doesn't look like it's moving anymore. Whoa. Let me back up a bit. Okay, yeah. So then we go off to Siberia. Iron Man figures it out. He's kind of like, he realized, oh shit, we were wrong. That Zemo guy, he's the one that did all of this. So he kind of tells let me help me out. Let me go find him. We can finish this, and then things can hopefully get back to normal soon. And Iron Man shows up at the end in Siberia. I think it was Siberia, somewhere in Russia, and they meet up and they're like, okay, they're like, oh, we're gonna do this, because he's like, I believe you, I know that you're right. And then they confront Zemo, and Zemo's like, oh yeah, the empire that I want to destroy, it's actually you guys, and it's not, I didn't want to take over a country. He killed the super soldiers that were there before, and he's like, I didn't want more. I hope you all die. Like, he's like, I don't want super people. And he's like, I'm gonna tear you guys apart. And he starts playing a video feed, and it's a video feed of the Winter Soldier Bucky killing Iron Man's parents. And this is kind of like, there's this thing, and he's like, did you know? And Cap is like, I didn't know it was Bucky. And he's like, I didn't ask if it was Bucky. I asked if you knew. And he's like, yeah, I knew that Hydra killed your family. And he kind of freaks out. He loses it. And then he's like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna kill Bucky. I don't care. You killed my parents. I'm gonna kill you. And then they're fighting, and then Bucky, it's one of the most intense fights, like I've ever seen. Like, it wasn't better than the airport fight scene, but it was more intense, because like Iron Man is definitely fighting to kill. Before, they were all pulling their punches. Iron Man wanted to kill Bucky. Like, he just wanted him dead. And like, he's fighting Cap and all this, and it's an intense fight scene, and Bucky's trying to rip out like the arc reactor out of his suit, and then he does that chest blast or whatever. He completely melts, rips off Bucky's arm up to like here, and it's just completely gone. And they're just beating each other, and then you get that scene where he's like, I could do this all day. And then finally Cap beats the crap out of Iron Man, and he manages to disrupt the arc reactor, so his suit shuts down. And then he's like, he grabs Bucky, and he's walking out with him, and Iron Man's like, you don't deserve that shield. My father made it. And he's like, it's not yours. And then Cap is like, like, you can see in his face that he's like, you're right. He didn't. I don't know if he felt that he didn't deserve it, but he was right to say that my father made that shield. So he drops the shield and he just walks off. And that's how the film, I don't want to say that's how it ends, but it's definitely on its way down already. And we're going downhill already. And so he disappears. And here's where I kind of find it weird. A lot of people are saying that, oh yeah, it definitely ended and the team is forever broken and all that. I don't think that's the case. I think Iron Man was overtaken with grief, and he allowed his emotions to cloud his judgment, because at the end there's a scene where he opens up this package. Tony Stank. Oh my god, that was such a hilarious scene. Anyway, he opens up this package, and out pops a cell phone, like an old school flip phone, and there's a letter, and he's reading it, and he's like, Iron Man, Tony, I'm sorry. We do what we believe is right, and I believe that I was right. Bucky didn't deserve to suffer for any of this. It was just an absolute horrible mistake that he was turned into the Winter Soldier, and he shouldn't have to suffer for it. He needs help. We can make him better. We can make him an ally, and that's what I believe needs to be done. You just wanted to lock him away. And he's like, and then he kind of gets into this thing where he's like, the Avengers was always yours more than mine. They were your family more than they were my family. We both had somewhere to belong, but I will always be your friend. And he tells him, if you ever need us, just call, just call us. And then you see the scene where he walks up and he's breaking out all of the Avengers from the holding cells. He managed to infiltrate and he search and rescue and all that. And he manages to escape with all the Avengers. And then Tony gets a phone call from William Hurt's character. What was his name? Thunderbolt Ross, General Ross. I think he's the Secretary of Defense now. Anyway, so Ross is like, Tony, we got an emergency or whatever, and then Tony, because like this is where I disagree, because everybody's like, oh, the team is split up forever, but Tony Stark reads this letter, and then he turns around and he takes the call and he's like, oh, Ross, put him through. Please hold. And then he's like, no, Tony, don't. And then, he disconnects him. And I think that scene speaks a lot because I think Tony had time to think it over. And I think he realized that he was right, that Captain was right. Captain America was right. And so I think he kind of like let definitely a lot of his anger go, because if he was still like homicidal and I'm going to kill the Winter Soldier, then he would have went to confront them, but he knows that they're out there. Not just Bucky and Cap, but the whole team, and that they were broken out of prison. But he chooses, he can get into contact with them whenever he wants, but he chose not to. And I think that proves that Iron Man kind of like they're kind of cool now. Not entirely, but they're definitely going to meet up for something big if they have to. They'll hash it out when they can. So for now, everything's like just relaxed and all that. So yeah, so I think the film actually ended on a pretty good note. Everybody's like, oh, this movie's kind of depressing and Captain America lost and he was in the wrong. I think everything is as it should be, because both realized that they were, they made a lot of mistakes, and I think Tony realized, you were right, Cap. I think that's my take on it. I could be absolutely wrong. You guys can have your own ideas, but that's my take on it. Now, post-credit scenes. The mid-credit scene, Bucky's like, he's going back under the ice. He's like, because people know my codes, and I can't be out in the world where somebody could just whisper to me and I'll lose my mind and become a slave again and kill people. So he's like, well, I'm gonna go ahead and go under the ice. We're gonna repair my arm, and when we can finally figure out how to dig out all of this crap that Hydra stuffed in me, I'm cool for being laying low for right now. And they're in Wakanda. And then King T'Challa is like, don't worry, no one will think to search for him here. And then he's like, and if they do, let them try. And like they turn around and there's like this big carving in a cliff of a friggin' panther, like snarling, epicness. Like they were in the middle of the jungle or whatever, and in Wakanda, and then end. And then the credits, and then the post-credit scene. I heard a lot of people missed it. I don't know why. I mean, you guys got to know by now. You have to stick behind to find what the post-credit scene is. Anyway, so the post-credit scene is you see you see Peter Parker fiddling with his new web shooters, the ones that Tony Stark helped him outfit, and it kind of starts glowing, and he's like, "Whoa, this is awesome!" And then you hear Aunt May coming, and he's like. And then he has a black eye, and Aunt May's like, oh, here's a wet rag, a cold rag, cold compress, so the swelling can go down. And he's like, so tell me again how this happened. He's like, got into a fight with some kid. He basically turned the airport fight scene into a schoolyard scuffle. And he's like, oh yeah, just some punk from Brooklyn named Steve. And Aunt May's like, oh yeah. And then Tom Holland's like, you should have seen his friend. He was huge. And everybody knows that we're talking about Ant-Man, but Aunt May's like, whoa, it must be a pretty big kid. And anyway, yeah, so Aunt May leaves the room. Then Peter brings it out again, and you look up, and it's the classic old school Spider-Man symbol, and it's kind of like spinning, and then it cut to black, and it's a Spider-Man will return. Obviously, probably for he's gonna be in his own solo films. Obviously, the Spider-Man Homecoming, and also for the third Avengers, Infinity War. I know it's not going to happen, but I think Spider-Man can be crossed over with Jessica Jones and Daredevil and all that from the Netflix series, because those all take place in the MCU. Like what happens in the films affects what happens in the TV show. And Spider-Man is a street-level hero at this point. He's not going to take on a cosmic deity like Thanos. He will, obviously, but not yet. But I mean, like, he's going to deal with people in his city, in Queens. And I don't know how far Queens and Hell's Kitchen are, but he's Spider-Man. He's webbing around, swinging around all over New York. So I think I hope he would make a couple appearances, you know, but I don't think they're gonna do that. They should, but I don't think, like I said, you know, it's not gonna happen. Anyway, yeah. So that was the film. My review. It was definitely. It's just an epic movie. Definitely go watch it, you guys. That's all I can really say at this point. I mean, you know, there's nothing for me to add. I gave you my feelings throughout the film as I just recapped it for you guys. It's just a damn good movie. I'd give it I give it a 9 out of 10. A definite solid 9 out of 10. I wanted to go higher, but I don't want to get into the whole decimals because then I have to start nitpicking. And it's not a perfect movie. I mean, there are like, you know, plot holes and stuff like that. Baron Zemo, well, he's not Baron Zemo. I'm sorry, I can't call him that. But Zemo was kind of a weak. He's kind of weak as a villain. He was essentially shoehorned in to make sure that the Avengers split apart because the main problem, the main conflict was the Sokovia Accords. That was where the conflict came from, and he was kind of ushered in at this subplot to make sure that, you know, the Winter Soldier without Zemo, only like one battle. You can get rid of the end fight scene between Iron Man and Captain America and Winter Soldier. Like without them, that's all that happens. And so I really feel that he was a good villain. He was used well for what they were using him for. But ultimately, if you remove that whole subplot, the movie still would have been great. You know, like, you know. So yeah, so definitely meh villain, but you know, so Marvel's known for having meh villains, so we'll go ahead and hopefully that'll, you know, stop. So I hope you guys enjoyed my review. I hope you guys will go and watch this movie. It's definitely a kick-ass movie, definitely worth spending your money on multiple times. I'm probably going to go see it a couple more times this weekend. And peace out. See you guys later.